Welcome back to the UK Crypto Podcast. I'm Paula, and as always, I'm joined by Matty. Today's episode is a little bit different because we're breaking down one of the most viral and controversial XRP theories on the internet right now. There's a creator called Jake Claver who's been making waves for some seriously bold predictions around XRP, including calling for $100 XRP by New Year's Eve, which, let's be honest, it didn't exactly play out. But beyond the price predictions, he's built something called the Domino Theory, a macro-level explanation for how a global financial crisis could unfold and why XRP could end up becoming the most important asset in the world. Now, on the surface, that sounds insane, but when you actually start digging into it, there are parts of it that make you stop and think. So today, me and Matty are going to break all of it down piece by piece, and by the end of this episode, we'll decide, is this theory actually grounded in reality, or is this just another example of crypto narratives getting completely out of control? Right, let's get into it.
Sponsor of today's video is the Crypto Wolfpack. That is a trading and crypto community just for you. Inside, you have got daily live streams as well as education and most importantly, community. The Crypto Wolfpack has a lot of exciting new tools incoming for our users. And if you want to get involved, head over to cryptowolfpack.co.uk or click on the link in the description.
Okay, let's talk about who exactly Jake Claver is.
So, this guy, talk about making waves. You have to say, tip your cap to the guy because attention is on him right now. He's
definitely in the spotlight, isn't he? And if I should imagine that everybody that's going to be watching this podcast will have seen Jake Claver on the internet, because I think if you're involved in crypto, he's one of the names that come up. But for those people that might not have come across him, do you want to just kind of give a high level overview as to where he sits with his predictions and crypto, I guess, the things that he likes?
Yeah, so he's an interesting guy, really, because actually he presents himself a lot differently to a lot of crypto influencers, okay? Yeah. So he'll have to wear a shirt and a tie.
Yeah.
He positions himself as an investment type of person in terms of the way he wants to present himself.
Yeah.
But alongside that comes an element that most people that present themselves as like the investment guy tend not to do, which is he does the moonshot calls on a token.
Yeah.
So usually if you've got somebody that's like a moon boy, you know what I mean? Those type of people. Well, you got a vision of somebody like that, aren't you? They're sat there, they've got their baseball cap on, they're in a dark room, and they're there on the computer.
Getting their Lambo. Yeah.
Or they're the other way around, right? And they are flashy, they're Lambo, they're Dubai.
Yeah.
He's not. He tries to put himself across as a businessman, but he's also doing the moon boy shots, and it's specifically about XRP.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of viral predictions, and he's very often known for the price predictions around XRP, and running up to New Year's Eve last year, he was predicting that XRP was going to reach 3 digits.
So around that time, so I don't do X, right? Or Twitter. So I decided to launch my X around that time.
Yeah.
And the week that I launched my X was when it was all going crazy. So I've launched onto X, right? I'm just getting the hang of it because I'm a bit old school, really. X wasn't really my thing. I go on there and everybody's talking about him because we were getting closer and closer and closer to New Year's Eve. Now, the prediction that he'd made was the year before. And he was saying, by New Year's Eve, XRP is going to be $100 or north of $100. Now, did he believe it when he said it? I don't know. Possibly when you see him talking. But either way, it's either a genius marketing act or he really believed it. Now, if we go down the lines that he really did believe it, well, what happened was, as the months of going, so we got towards the summer, and obviously XRP was what, $3 or whatever.
Yeah, because we had an all-time high, didn't we, in July?
So still miles away from his target, but at least we're going in the right direction. But I noticed when I was starting to search X about this subject in particular, that since the summer, as it the heat's been putting on him.
Yeah.
Because all the haters are going, I can't wait for New Year's
But this
Eve.
is the reality with the internet, isn't it? Because once you say something, people don't forget.
That's why I don't make price predictions.
Yeah, but if I'm honest, it wasn't really his price prediction that caught my attention.
Okay.
It was his domino theory. And
Yeah.
I think that's probably worth explaining a little bit, just to see our opinions around the legs that's really got. Has it got any legs? Is it just another bold claim like the price prediction? Or is there something underlying? Because I make content very often, and I may talk about something that fits within this domino theory that he said. And people will make comments to say, oh, this fits in with what Jake Claver's saying.
Yeah.
So I think we'll go through that on a high level as to kind of the dominoes that he's expecting to fall. And then we can talk about that further as to whether or
if you
not.
want me to explain what the domino theory is in one sentence, is the complete world collapses and XRP is the savior. That's pretty much what he's saying when it comes to finance. Now, when even saying those words makes me feel a bit uncomfortable because like it sounds insane, but it's the way that he breaks it down into different elements that you go, okay, well, can you argue with that element? Can you argue with that element?
Yeah.
And it's the only really stumbling block really is towards the end for me, but actually all the things he's talking about does make sense, but it's the way that he's packaged it together, I think, which is the smart one. And again, does he believe it? Or is it a marketing thing? It's a very difficult thing to know.
But I think especially with current events, geopolitical events, because his first domino that he talks about is there being a crisis of oil, a crisis in terms of supply availability, and that potentially being the first domino that could fall and trigger the other things that happen. And we're in a situation at the moment where we have a war in the Middle East and it is affecting oil supply. And I think because of the things that are happening at the moment, that fits nicely into what he has said before. Because once that happens and we start looking at there being a supply problem, that's going to affect inflation. It's going to affect central banks having to put up their interest rates. And he's not really particularly talking about the central banks in America or the central banks in Spain. He's talking about the central banks in Japan, because for those people that don't really know how important Japan is in economics, we've always had a situation where Japan's been really, really stable. So they have struggled with inflation throughout the years. They've had actually negative inflation for quite a long time. If the central banks in Japan start to raise their interest rates, then everybody in terms of global investors that have borrowed cheap yen are going to feel like they're going to have to start selling off assets to start paying back what they've borrowed. And this is the next domino that he's talking about.
It is, but you've fired way too far ahead here, because we need to explain about the oil, because otherwise we're not going to understand about Japan.
Yeah.
So we need to go back a stage here, because when he started talking about the domino effect, he was talking about something may happen to cause a financial issue around the world. He didn't say what it was going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Now he's changed it to say not changed it. Now what's going on with Iran, he's going, that could be it.
Yeah.
That could be the thing. Because let's just look at what's going on with Iran at the moment. So they're blocking off the straits. The oil supply is being restricted. We're at a situation, we're recording this today, that America are talking about not letting boats go through there at all, because some countries are still getting through to get oil. That's restricting that flow of oil, which is then going to cause some countries that are hugely reliant on the oil that come through there to go into an economic collapse, right? Now, one of those countries, as you quite rightly said, is Japan. Now, Japan takes, the stat that I saw was 92% of its oil that goes into Japan comes through the straits.
Yeah.
Which is massive.
Yeah, it's
Compare
huge.
that to the UK, we have about 5% of our oil come through. So even us in the UK are worried about what's going to happen. We only get 5% of our oil from there. Now imagine being Japan and you're getting 92% of your oil through there.
Yeah.
That is a big problem. Yeah. That's a big problem. So this is how we're leading on to Japan. And I think we need to explain about Japan a little bit further as well, because when it comes to Japan, Japan is incredibly important to global finance. And I think most people, unless you're into economics or unless you've come across content about this before, they won't realise it. So Japan is hugely important because the world goes to Japan for cheap money. And I don't mean like people like me and you. I'm on about institutions, banks, countries. Yeah. Everybody goes there because of their interest rates are so low. So I'll give you an example. You could be country A, you decide to go to Japan, you will borrow money in the Japanese yen at a low interest rate, you convert it into your own currency, then you go and spend it in your country. Yeah, that's pretty much what people do. But if Japan need to raise the interest rates, the cheap money in Japan is no longer cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. If the interest rate goes up and people start defaulting on their loans, then they're going to be forced to be selling off the assets that they've invested in globally in order to repay those loans back.
Yeah.
And then we go on to this this unwinding of the carry trades that we've got. And I just don't think that people understand the implications of the sheer numbers of investments that have been made around the world using this yen.
I mean, virtually every single major institution on the planet and country has gone to Japan for cheap money.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you think about people being investors using yen, you think, well, they must be Japanese.
No.
But actually, people throughout the world have gone to
Every
Japan
country.
and then borrowed money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if those interest rates go up, then what's going to happen is they're going to either going to have to pay off their loans or default on their loans, or they're going to have to start selling things off to cover that increased loan payment.
Yeah.
And this is where the problem comes, because it's about what they'll have to sell off.
Yeah.
Because if it becomes a situation where Japanese bonds, if it becomes a situation where the American bonds need to be sold off, then that could cause a huge problem. And this is what he's trying to say in the domino effect.
Yeah. Yeah, because actually the US bonds are significant for US economy. So if people are forced to be selling those off, it's going to have huge implications.
Yeah.
I mean, we've then got investors that are going to have to sell assets in order to repay their loans in Japan. And that's going to cause mass sell-offs, because it's not just the bonds that people have invested in. They might have invested in stocks. They might have invested in like it could be in all markets. It's going to touch everything.
Yeah, completely. And it's not just about it's also about the Japanese government as well.
Yeah.
Because they hold huge amounts, and the Japanese banks hold huge amounts of American bonds.
Yeah.
Which is massive.
Yeah.
In fact, I think aren't they the biggest holder of them as well?
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
If they're not the biggest, they're up there anyway.
Yeah.
And this is what he's trying to say, that this crisis with the oil will have a knock-on effect for countries being under pressure and having economic problems.
Yeah.
Japan in particular are fragile to this.
Yeah.
Interest rates go up there, money gets more expensive. All of a sudden, people have to sell things off.
Yeah.
We've got a global financial crisis everywhere.
Yeah, because I think the thing to remember is, because the interest rates have been so low in Japan.
Sometimes negative, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even a 0.25% raise is going to be massive.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. So even these small raises, it doesn't need to go 3, 4, 5, 6% up. Even the smallest of changes is going to have a massive global impact.
Well, do you remember I was making those videos about it last year, wasn't I?
Yeah.
I was making the videos I can't remember when it was, but April, May, whatever it was, and we were talking about it. And I remember in the comments, people came into one or two different sides. They either knew what I was talking about and they were genuinely concerned, or they're in the comments going, "What on earth has this got to do with crypto?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they don't see the connections.
I think the other thing to remember is, because crypto was always decentralized and it was always away from the other markets, it was always retail sentiment driven. But we've had this move over the last 12 months where there's been changes around regulation which have allowed big institutions to invest, and crypto is more connected to global markets than it's ever been. So anything that happens in markets is now affecting crypto.
Yeah, completely. So at this point, what he's describing isn't actually crazy. And in fact, it's very, very possible. So at this point of the domino effect that he's discussing, I'm on board. What he's describing, I think, is very possible, and a very real possibility as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because we've seen the war. We've seen a crisis that has happened that could potentially push that first domino over. Whether or not he's looking at a situation and then just going, "Oh, well, that might fit into it," and connecting those dots.
But so far, nothing's crazy.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I'm going to be honest, 100% think he's correct.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
yeah.
not that it's definitely going to happen, but it's doable.
Yeah.
And it would be bad.
Yeah.
Very, very bad.
Definitely. I think the big concern is we talk about forced sell-offs. We talk about this affecting the markets. But what we need to, I guess, do the next step towards is what the implications of that is. And the implication of that is we're going to have a liquidity crisis because there's going to be no liquidity if people are forced to sell off this stuff to just repay their loans.
I don't think the average person is quite getting to grips with what would happen in the event of the American bond market gets hammered.
Yeah.
The impact, because it would affect everything.
Yeah.
And I'm on about there would be, because people would need to stop, not just people, companies and countries would need to start selling things to fill the gap.
Yeah.
Otherwise their countries would go under.
Yeah.
So we're talking about they need to be selling off their stocks, their shares,
their crypto,
their gold. Everything gets battered.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, oh God, we've had a 40% dip. I'm on about absolute hammering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we probably have never seen before.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the exact stats, but when they talk about, was it the 1920s stock market crash? Was it the 20s?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know what percentage that dropped for it to be the biggest thing that's ever happened. Yeah. And when we look at the 2008 credit crunch, you remember that with the mortgage,
and the mortgages in the US.
Unwinding. Yeah. The unwinding.
Yeah.
All that. So I'm not exactly sure on the numbers that it needs to hit to be classified as a disaster. But I'm telling you now, if the bond market goes tits up, everything's in big trouble.
Absolutely, and it kind of leads us on to where does, because we're always interested in how this affects crypto. If there's no liquidity, ultimately the crash in Bitcoin is just gonna.
Well, it's the first one. It'll be the first one to go.
Yeah.
So okay. Forget about it. Some smaller alts will get whacked first. Okay, whatever. But when Bitcoin goes, because you need to look at the people that own Bitcoin, right? Retail investors now are probably very small in ownership of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The big ownerships of Bitcoin are done by massive companies and countries.
Countries. Yeah.
So if they go, we need to sell our Bitcoin, all of our Bitcoin, 50% of our Bitcoin, even if they only sell 30% of our Bitcoin, that is a huge amount of money.
Because what you
and
got,
the price would just fall and fall and fall and fall.
Yeah, because what you got to remember about crypto is it's an easy sell.
Very easy.
So these countries and companies are going to be looking to make money in the easiest way possible.
Yeah.
If you're relying on selling stocks, then that's probably got a more of a lag and selling bonds, more of a lag than
or property or anything.
Property, or physical assets.
Yeah.
But actually, to sell your crypto, you can do it in seconds.
Yeah, even for major institutions, they can go, we need to raise some cash now. What can we do?
Yeah.
We can sell our Bitcoin. Oh, look, you've got it in less than 20 minutes.
And we've got to remember that Bitcoin is the anchor for the crypto market. So if
100%.
that goes, everything else is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always need to remember that Bitcoin is kind of the indicator for the whole of the market, the whole of the crypto market. What Bitcoin is doing pretty much guides everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in this situation that we're talking about, in my opinion, it would be devastating.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess this is where things start to escalate, and he doesn't just stop there with his domino theory. He takes it a step further.
He does. Now, this is where we start getting into some more technical stuff. Now, if you're relatively new into crypto, you've just got to bear with us with this one, okay? Now, as you know, I've made many videos on this, and I got told I was wrong many times, right? And I hope that I am wrong.
Well, yeah, because the implications of this could be huge.
Let me get it straight. For me personally, financially, this would be a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So this isn't the case of me sitting there going, well, I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah,
if that happens,
yeah.
I'd be screwed, right? So what we're talking about, what he's talking about, and I've also made videos on this as well, is Tether, USDT, hasn't proven what it's backed by, right?
In terms of these assets.
They've refused.
Yeah.
So when you have assets get audited, like an exchange, you might have seen adverts, guys. If you're looking on your exchanges, you might say, we're backed 1 for 1. So in other words, for every dollar they're letting you use, they've got $1 of it backed by something else in real world, either money, cash, gold, whatever
property,
it will be, or Bitcoin. Yeah. Where Tether has got however many billions out there, and they've refused to let anybody see what's propping it up in the background.
Yeah.
And they've said it quite clearly. We're a private business and it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in the world of finance, that is not normal.
No.
So people have surmised that they would only do that if there was a problem. And then obviously the internet sleuths get underway, they start investigating, and you find out that they're saying that they've got so-and-so money in this company, and actually it's a company that's it's just a shadow company with actually got no assets at all. Then they're saying we've got X amount of gold, and then the companies that they're saying are holding the gold don't even hold the total amount of gold that they're saying is in there.
Yeah.
So it's smoke and mirrors everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm in no way saying Tether are doing anything wrong, but there was enough air of mystery there to go, what would happen if Tether collapsed? Well, I'll tell you now. Tether is if Bitcoin is the backbone of crypto world.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what Tether's the backbone of.
Stablecoins,
exchanges, leverage trading, money transfer. Yeah. So so Bitcoin's like the wealth, if you like. Tether is about how it shifts around the world.
Yeah.
If that collapsed, it would send so many things bust.
Yeah.
I'm talking about major exchanges, major businesses, because I do this myself. Well, we do this, don't we? If we're going to cash out some crypto, we don't turn it into fiat. We turn it into stable coins. Well, so do the big institutions.
Yeah, exactly.
So do the exchanges.
Yeah.
So do countries now.
Yeah.
This would be huge. And he's suggesting that if Tether depegged, everything collapses.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about the oil, the interest rates, Japan, the carry trade. Devastating. Yeah. We're talking global finance on its knees.
Yeah.
This would be like the final bolt in the horse's head.
Yeah,
Bang.
because the reality is if Tether haven't been clear and transparent with what is how their stablecoin is backed, if the majority of what they have got is in things like bonds, it's in Bitcoin, it's in gold.
Yeah.
And everything collapses because then they're going to have to sell it.
Which again forces the price down. And of everything, by the way. Of everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what this domino theory is saying is if we get to that point, Tether will have no choice. It won't be a choosy thing. It will be a forced thing.
Yeah.
That's a real problem.
What happens? Well, if it depegs. Now, a lot of people into crypto, because there's so many new people, won't ever remember a depegging of a stablecoin. I do. Was it Luna Terra? Luna Terra?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And let me tell you now, the crypto world or finance world goes into panic. Well, if it was Tether that depegged. Can I explain what depegged is, just in case anybody doesn't know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so with a stablecoin, so one USDT is always going to be exactly the same power as $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can have a euro version, a pounds version. I'm sure other countries have got them as well. They're the only ones I really ever look at. And we're talking about it depegging. So because it loses its value because of a crisis, all of a sudden, instead of having one USDT is worth $1, it could be worth 50 cents.
Yeah.
So a click of a finger, whoever's holding that, your wealth that you're holding in that is just halved.
Yeah.
And it could depeg all the way down to zero. That is the fear.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Because all of the liquidity on the exchanges would dry up.
The exchanges would go bust.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure people will tell me in the comments reasons they wouldn't go bust. I am pretty sure that we would see multiple exchange collapses within days, in my opinion, of a depegging of USDT. Because this, it's always baffled my head, really, this. Everyone relies on USDT. Why is there no not diversion? What's it called? Diversification.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. It's either USDT or USDC.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's USDT mainly. So USDC mainly for companies, but I think as traders, and you see it on the exchanges all the time, don't you? It's USDT.
Everything's USDT.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about that.
Yeah.
So I think some diversification on there, which is what he kind of gets at later on in the domino theory, doesn't it? Yeah. How do you need an alternative?
Yeah,
you need an alternative to USDT.
Absolutely.
Because in this situation, USDT they suggest is built on sand.
Yeah.
And one day, if that sand gets wet and sticky, everything sinks.
Yeah.
Like the lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this happens, we're not just talking about a crash anymore. We're talking about the entire crypto market completely just seizing up.
Everything. Stocks, shares, gold, crypto, mortgages, banks collapsing.
Yeah.
It would just be devastating.
Yeah, because exchanges rely on Tether. Trading would slow or completely stop.
You can see countries go bust.
Yeah.
I'm being deadly serious. I'm not suggesting like the big boy countries are going to go bust, like one of the EU countries or in America or in Canada. But could we see a South American country go bust? Absolutely. Could we see an African country go bust? Absolutely.
But I think...
But once one of them goes, the knock-on effect...
But I also, and we are going to digress slightly,
okay.
But I think that the implications of the things that we've had maybe over the last 20 years, like the 2008 crash, like COVID,
Yeah.
I think the rich Western countries are actually not as rich as we would like to think we are. And the amount of debt that we're in is it's not sustainable if we've got another crash like this coming. So I think that you could even see one of these countries completely fold in.
Debt. So there's a clock that you can watch on the internet. Have you ever looked at it?
It goes up so fast.
So quick. It's so quick. So I actually saw it as somebody's background on a stream once. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to go and look at that. And I sat there staring at this clock for about 15 minutes. I know that sounds weird. I just couldn't get over how fast it was moving. I'm sat there eating crisps going, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, this is insane.
Yeah. I'm literally just breathing and they're getting in more debt.
There's no sustainability to American debt.
No.
So what happens when America, what happens when they can't pay their debt? And this is the issue, isn't it? This is the big one.
Yeah.
This American debt is the one that everybody's looking at. The thing is, let's be honest, right? If it was a country like, say, Venezuela that goes bust, most of the world aren't going to care. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But when you have a country like America that defaults on their debt in a massive way, the world is going to take notice.
Absolutely.
And it's going to affect everybody.
Absolutely. And I think... tying this back to crypto just a little bit more, if the exchanges rely on Tether, if trading stops, well, the ETFs that have invested all of this money into the crypto market...
they're whipping it out.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Yeah, they're going to be gone.
Listen,
and we're in this negative feedback loop then, aren't we?
Yeah, the sell-off. It's not just they're going to go sell the Bitcoin. The major institutions are going to go, get my cash out of every single one of them ETFs.
Absolutely.
Now, if they whip all their money out of the ETFs on Ethereum, XRP, they're all now rolling.
Yeah.
But they're in this situation, they'd already been getting hammered by the fact Bitcoin's having a drop.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they're getting attacked from all angles. So XRP is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Deep trouble. Not just XRP. This situation so far is where we've got in this story ain't about XRP.
No.
Everything's
However, so at this part of his theory, everything is absolutely breaking, and then we bring in the solution, don't we? And the solution that he is suggesting is XRP.
It is. Now, this is so everything, by the way, everything up to this point.
It makes sense.
Makes complete sense to me, yeah? Now we start getting into the territory of the what if for me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's actually wrong, but it's going to be interesting which parts we agree with and which parts we don't agree with. So first of all, he's now saying, in this situation we spoke about, at this point of complete devastation of everything, now money's in trouble.
Yeah.
Now money itself is in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's a scary prospect because I like to think that for me, I like digital currencies. I like the alternative to the main fiat. But let's get it straight. When I look at how much profit I've made, I talk about it in fiat.
Yeah.
Don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. It all boils down to money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And in this situation, money's in problems. And what he's trying to say is all of a sudden, people are not going to want different currencies in different countries when they're going to be talking to each other because of the volatility in people's economies.
Yeah.
So they're going to almost want like this one solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Worldwide currency almost. Yeah.
And obviously the value of that in your country will be slightly different with the money you've got. But at least then when person A in country A is talking to country B in certain B, in this situation, you can talk about it in an XRP value.
Yes.
Yeah? That's what he's trying to say. And I've just explained that in a very basic way. It gets way more complex because he's talking about international money transfers and he's talking about the fact that it can be done exactly what XRP has been built for. Let's be honest.
Payment rails,
super fast, super quick, super cheap.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the world in this situation, the world's skint.
Yeah.
The world still needs to communicate and trade.
Yeah.
Still needs to do what it still operate. They will be looking for a new solution. That is what the crux of what he's trying to get at.
Yeah. Yeah. And if this solution is XRP, then I'm going to put it out there. I like Ripple as a company. I respect what they've done and I can understand the vision. I have watched what they've done even over the last 12 months and the investments they've made, and where I can see that, you've got company X and they've got somebody from Ripple in their high level talks that they're having about money. And then I look here and they're involved there. And actually, I think the spider's web of where Ripple reach around the world is endless. Actually, I think it's a very, very well thought out project. Mm-hmm. It would fit into this idea of a solution. Mm-hmm. However, is there going to be a united world where everybody agrees that we only ever use one thing?
Well, and I think this is the leap of faith that, in my opinion, he's taking with his theory, right? Yeah. Because what he's suggesting is that XRP could be used for everything.
Yeah.
So settling the stock market, settling the traditional finance route, settling people's wages, settling everything,
paying for your coffee,
doing business trade deals. Everything can be used. Can be XRP and the Ripple rails. Pretty much. And he's not wrong. Like, this could happen. And he's talking about an absolute doomsday scenario where XRP becomes the solution. But interestingly, he's suggesting that this is pre-planned.
Yeah, and he's also talking about the fact that there is, what he's saying, a limited supply. And we know that if there's limited supply of anything, then over time, the value is going to go up because we've got supply and demand.
Like a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's a limited supply.
Yeah.
I know it's still being printed now, but so it is. That's no different to XRP still having its unlocks. So it's the same drill, really. There's still more coming into the system. But at some point, we know there's that finite amount where it will stop.
Yeah.
And with
isn't it a billion XRP?
100 billion.
100 billion.
Yeah, 100 billion.
Yeah.
So there is a limited amount, and obviously it's to do with this theory that plays a big role in this when it comes to the value.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, if everybody's using it for everything, then it becomes, well, almost a little bit scarce.
Yes.
So the price needs to go up to be able to handle these massive So listen, I mean, as we're recording this, we're just going to use round numbers. If we say that XRP is $1 and you need to send $10 billion to somebody, you've got to use 10 billion XRP. Now, there's only 100 billion in circulation. That's not feasible on a mass scale. Therefore, the price needs to go up so they can send fractional amounts of XRP, just like you send fractional amounts of Bitcoin, just like you would receive fractional amounts of Bitcoin. It's no different, right? It's designed to do that. And this is where he's saying the price would have to go up to a really, really serious amount.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this idea actually as well that the XRP holders that are here already, it would reach 3 to 4 digits and then people would naturally start selling it because they'd be seeing such massive profits. And then that would release a few more XRP back into the system. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting theory. I don't know if we are in a world where we have enough agreement for that to happen, because if you have a look just kind of geopolitically, countries aren't agreeing with basic policies at the moment, and they're not even agreeing with basic trade deals. So I guess, how do we create a system where everybody is in agreement to change the payment rails? Or would you have a situation where there was enough of the countries that got together that they created a system where
people
other countries felt like they had to, potentially? I don't know.
I think part of his domino theory is explaining that because XRP and Ripple have the only ones that have really built rails to solve everything when it comes to finance and money, they are best positioned to sort it out.
Yes.
That's what he's trying to get at. So, for instance, if your country's on its knees, and then then you already got a couple of countries that are actually, hang on, they're starting to function again better. Well, of course, they're going to be interested, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because it's going to be cheaper than what they're already doing, faster than what they're already doing, more instant than what they're... Do you know what I mean? All the things tick the boxes in this theory.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I broke it down, the carry trade risk is definitely real. The liquidity crisis, I think we're seeing a bit of a dry up in liquidity anyway. We have done. Could it get worse if the carry trades continue and do unwind? Yes.
No doubt. And then you've got the stablecoin section of his theory. I think it is a real possibility.
Yeah. I
deeply don't want it to be a possibility. What I would like to add for this video, though, because I think it's really important, is over the last couple of weeks, Tether for USDT have agreed to have an audit.
Okay.
However, so there's an overall global standard. They're like the gold standard of audits for financial companies and institutions. Okay. And they're the ones that they got batted away. Said no. So what Tether have done is they've gone and input their own.
Right.
And when it comes to when you've got somebody that's being and you're paying to audit them, you will have some form of an influence.
Yeah.
So they've still, even though they've come to the table to have an audit, there's still an air of mystery there.
It's not quite as transparent as it should be.
It's not.
Yeah.
But however, could a stablecoin depeg? Yes.
Yeah.
How do we know it can? Because we've seen it in history.
Yeah.
Is Tether at the moment got holes that people are worried about? Absolutely. So therefore, again, in the domino theory, I think it's a real risk.
Yeah. And the settlement systems are evolving. I mean, like the rails that Ripple are building are, they're in my opinion. It's difficult, isn't it? You see one news article and it will say, oh, this is happening here, or this pilot's going on. In the background, I think that Ripple is in. It's just...
It's happening.
Yeah, it's in.
It's happening. I'm not talking about global domination. I'm just talking about them building the things that can have features that institutions and banks want.
Yeah. And
we're getting to the point now where, I mean, we just had it now. So one of the XRP haters things that they used to bang on about was no banks using it. We can't say that now.
Yeah.
SBI went live.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's job done.
Yeah.
First one ticked off, bump.
Yeah.
On to number 2, 3, 4, on to number 1,000. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think what doesn't fit down into his domino theory at the moment for me is that everything collapses at once.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And this was, I agree with you there actually, because this was the part of the theory where I was going, he's talking about a complete devastation and doomsday. And then the more I was thinking, well, yeah, it would make sense because that'd fall. But the reality is, would economies try to save certain things? Probably. I don't know what that would be.
Could they save certain things? And this is
possibly,
what I mean, I don't know.
They wouldn't go down without a fight.
Yeah.
They would, because we're talking about millions and millions of people probably having food shortages, water. I mean, we're talking really horrible things here.
Yeah.
Right, let's get it straight. Like, we're talking about really bad stuff here. Would countries go down without a fight? No. So therefore, would they try and save the whatever market if they were going to sacrifice the other market or whatever it be? And I don't know which ones they'd select, but I think, would it all just crash at the same time? Possibly not. Has it got the ability for all of them to crash individually? Yes, I think he's right.
But and the more this situation in the Middle East is going on and the more conversations I'm having around it, the more I'm understanding the implications of actually, if we have a scarcity of oil, this is not just you can't put petrol in your car. This is you can't create fertilizers to grow foods.
Yeah.
You can't put... Did you know that helium is a byproduct of the oil refining?
No, I didn't.
So oil refineries create helium. It's a byproduct of when they do that. And actually helium is used to print microchips.
Okay.
So again, like all of these things that you just don't realise are connected, maybe they are more connected. And I don't know. I mean, I want to believe that things can't all crash in one go. Get a little bit, the more I look into some of the things that I didn't know was connected, that are connected, it makes me question it. And I don't know. I mean, my other thing is XRP the only solution? It's difficult. There are some really, really, really great projects out there. I made a video on it this week. You've got projects like Chainlink and like Quant that are connecting blockchains together. So if you've got crypto as the solution, which potentially I think crypto could be the solution because of the blockchain technology, does it have to all be on the XRP ledger? if you've got projects that are able to connect the XRP ledger to Ethereum, for instance, and you can have multiple things running at the same time.
Which they can.
Is that a better solution? Are we just being a bit blasé to say, well, it's got to be XRP?
Yeah, I think that's the probably the biggest hole in his theory for me so far that we've come across, which is the XRP is the all-seeing, the only answer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's true. I think XRP would be in this scenario he's talking about, would be in a very good position to help a lot of things that we've just spoke about.
Yeah.
Would it be the only one? No. Or could there be new ones created very quickly? Possibly.
Yeah.
Would a country like China all of a sudden launch something to go, I've got something, and all of a sudden then you got your BRICS nations and Africa or a solution? You just don't know.
I mean, my only come back to that is that actually XRP has been a project in the making for 20 years.
Yeah.
Somebody just doesn't come along and go, right, I can do that as quickly. What has changed though is we're now working with significantly better tech than Ripple were working with 20 years ago. So I think something could be created at a similar scale in less time, but it's still going to take significant time to implement that. And what Ripple, I think, have been very clever about is the relationships they developed over those 20 years and how integrated they are in these countries.
You say that though, you say that, but in the event of a complete global disaster like we're talking about, who's to say a country like China or a collection of countries like the EU or even America, for instance, says, okay, our economies are in trouble. The world's in big problems. We've got famine everywhere, all over the place, all over the world. Nothing is more important to us now than investing resources to solve this, to get the world economy back on track, so that the world can start trading again and communicating, and farmers can grow food in one country and feed another country, that type of thing. Yeah. So all of a sudden, if there was great will from powerful countries and people, then they would put all their resources and efforts into fixing it. Can you imagine if China said to everybody in China, nothing's more important than solving this problem? And they said to them, we'll bankroll it. Because we've still got cash.
Or Ripple come along and they go, we've got a solution.
Yeah, I get it. I hear you.
It's so hard, isn't it? It is so hard.
I hear you.
I mean, the other thing...
But this is the point of it, what he's saying, because what I've just said, in the event that could people make it? Yes. But why would they bother when XRP exists?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I do get it.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing is, does his theory all back, is it all like holding on to the fact that the supply of XRP needs to be that low and then the price then needs to get as high as he's talking about for that to be the growth and the springboard forward? I
think the price would need to be higher in this situation because there's not enough XRP.
Yeah.
It would definitely need to be higher. So there's no hole in what he's saying there.
How long is so I know obviously Ripple have got escrow and they release this these XRPs over
every
time.
Month, yeah.
How long is that before that runs out?
I think it's like, I want to say 2044, and I might have made that up though.
Okay.
So he's going to say in the comments, what are you talking about? It's 500 years, man. I feel like it's, is that the year that Bitcoin stops getting, I can't remember. But there is an end date to it anyway. There is an end date to it.
Because don't they unlock is it 1 million XRP every month?
So it's more than that. It's like it's more than that.
Okay.
It's more than that. I can't remember the exact amount. It's out of the escrow, and quite often they go and lock it back up again, so they don't flood the market.
Absolutely. And I guess the other idea is this timeline being so soon. I'm not comfortable with it because I don't like the idea that we're going to have a massive financial collapse so soon. That makes me really uncomfortable, but I think that's just human nature rather than putting on a more economic hat and looking at it through those eyes. I think human nature goes, that's really uncomfortable, and potentially we could be entering a time that for the majority of people is going to be incredibly difficult, and nobody really wants to face that as a reality.
100%. And I think we're getting to the point now where we've just spoke about some really interesting things across there. But for me, it's probably going to be more interesting, and maybe not for the reasons that people think. And the first one is about that narrative is going to speed things up here. So because Jake has got such a platform and he's put this narrative out there, it's gaining momentum. And sometimes you can have self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah, and I also think that you've got to remember the XRP community is one of the biggest communities for any kind of crypto project.
Flat out, yeah.
And everybody who loves XRP, because you either are an XRP lover or an XRP hater, there's nobody that's really in the middle of that. If you like XRP and you've bought XRP, you want to believe what he's saying, because then that's going to increase the price of XRP. And you're going to sit in the camp that said, I told you XRP was going to be the one. And I think that's self-generating as well in the XRP community, because everybody wants to bang the XRP drum.
Completely. And the other interesting thing for me is about quite often you will get that truth and speculation where the lines get blurred and then people aren't quite sure which is which.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of truth in what he said in this.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of truth.
Yeah.
There's also some speculation. I think that's okay as well. Like to say, I think this could happen. But what you'll find is that people will watch his content. Then when they regurgitate it, they say it as fact.
Yeah.
So I often see this. People will say to me, have you seen what XYZ person, especially Jake Claver, it happens a lot actually, see what Jake Claver has said? No, he said this. And I'll be like, has he? And then I'll go and have a look and I'll be like, not even quite. He's talking about a potential possibility of something could happen.
Yeah.
By the time they've digested it and regurgitated, it's now fact.
Yeah.
So you get that Chinese whisper effect as well.
Well, I think what everybody's got to be very clear about is he has called this the Domino Theory.
Yeah.
This is a theory.
It's a theory.
This is what he thinks could happen. Everything that happens that is in science is a theory, and they test it and they do experiments and then they come out with an answer. Unfortunately, on the scale of what he's saying, well, we and the world are the experiment, and we won't know until we come out the other side of this. So I think we've just got to take that for what it is. It is a theory. It's a theory that has been created by a man. And yes, he's got a big presence, but doesn't make it fact. And we've just got to keep that in mind, even though I think that what he's saying has got validity. I think it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, but with that big presence comes a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And then with that attention comes the spotlight on the theory. And I think that's what's happening here. Mm-hmm. So there's probably lots of people that have lots of theories about lots of things, but because there's such a spotlight on what he says.
Yeah.
And actually, let's get it straight. He's a master at it.
Yeah.
Look at the kerfuffle that he caused over the internet about his $100 XRP price prediction. Yeah. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And actually, the guy's a genius for that.
Yeah.
And from one creator to another,
well done.
You absolutely
love it.
smashed that one out of the park, mate.
Absolutely. But I think it's just important that we need to be questioning everything. I actually think that this feeds into more than Jake Claver. I think we are in a world where we have access to so much information, but the reality is that not all of it is fact.
Question it. Question that. Question it.
Just keep questioning it. Just keep looking at this and just using it to create your own questions in your own mind. Don't be taking this stuff as fact, but use it as a point for you to start looking at stuff and educate yourself and give yourself more knowledge where you can.
Yeah, and that's why episodes like this for the podcast, I think are so important, because it's not about being right or wrong. It's not about picking on this theory and going, oh, Jake Claver, he's wrong, or going, he's amazing. It ain't about that. It's about us looking at it, dissecting it, coming to our own conclusions, doing your own research. That's the thing we say in crypto, right? It's super, super important. Now, we've just tried to pull apart some of that and decide which bits we like, which bits we don't like, which things are possible, which things are rubbish. And actually, we've come to the end of it and gone, a lot of moving parts have got to happen to it. A lot of moving parts have to happen for this to be the end result. But I can see why he's thinking that.
Yeah. But it could happen.
It could happen. Do I think it will happen, though? I don't. I think one of those chains or one of those cogs in those wheels will get stopped before that position. However, if all those cogs do end up moving, then what he's saying makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't believe that the world leaders and the global would want that to happen. Now, I know there's always conspiracy theories out there. And by the way, I love a conspiracy theory. I love it. But there's always a conspiracy theory out there that say they want to crash the global economies so they can have the great reset.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too sure about that. I think actually they will do everything in their power to stop happening what we've just said.
Yeah.
Not because they don't want XRP to win, but because they wouldn't want people to starve to death.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I personally, I like the theory because I can see logic in all of it. Do I want him to be right? No, I don't, because that will result in absolute crisis. Do I want him to be right about XRP? Of course I want him to be right about XRP, but I would like to see that happen through different means rather than it be an absolute crash of the world economy. So, yeah, that's where I stand with it.
I'll tell you where I'm at. I'm at this, that is all of it complete nonsense? No, a lot of it makes complete sense. In fact, a lot of these elements he's spoken about, I've made videos about. I just haven't put it together in a domino theory like he has. Have I made videos about the carry trade? Yes. I've made videos about other elements in what we spoke about. Absolutely, I have. Just never put it together. So I do understand why he's done that. So no, I don't think it's all nonsense. Do I think that XRP will be the only solution in the event of a disaster he's talking about? I also think no. Would XRP be positioned really well in that terrible, terrible scenario? Possibly.
Yeah.
So I'm taking away from this. Actually, I think it's a really well thought out theory, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense. And it's not something you can just shoot holes in. Like sometimes some people say things. It's
you
obvious.
Just bat it away
you
and
just
it's
be like,
whatever.
Shut up, will you? Do you know what I mean? You don't know what you're talking about. Well, actually, his does make sense. It's just about how likely do I think it would be to become reality? I deeply hope not, because that would involve a lot of heartache.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we've come to the conclusion. So I think that wraps it up.
So there you have it, the XRP domino theory broken down. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think this is actually onto something, or do you just think it's another overhyped crypto narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those topics where opinions are going to be all over the place. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe and follow the podcast on both YouTube and Spotify. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.